Okay, in this Texture Animator tutorial we're going to cover how to create a new texture animation job. In this case we're going to use one of the transporter beaming effects, and it's pretty straightforward. The texture animation itself just plays on a geometry plane positioned in front of the character, and the very first step is you select the surface that you want the texture animation to play out on. In this case it's the geometry plane, which I have named Transporter Effect 2. And first step is under Menu, go to Create New Texture Animation Job, click on that, and just make sure that the root node of the model is selected, and down under Surface is selected. This particular this geometry plane only has one surface, but if it was a more complex model, there'd be all the surfaces selected there. You just select the surface that you want to play the texture animation on, and the next step is under Set First Animation File. This will be the very first file that the texture animation uses to play it. So you click on the Browse button, and we want to go to Beam Effect 2, and this texture animation job uses both the diffuse and opacity channel. So in this case the very first dialog that comes up is for the diffuse channel, so we select that. We select the very first texture animation in the sequence, and it must be numbered 0 and must contain an underscore character between the name and the numbering system, or texture animation is set up that way. So it's one of the file naming rules, which we covered in other tutorials, but just a little reminder. But anyway, select the very first image in the sequence, click on Open, and you can see the directory path is filled in for you, and also the name of the file. And the next thing we want to do is enter under Frame Setup the timeline frame for the Daz scene that we want this animation to start at. So in this case we're going to start it at frame 0, and the ending frame, which in this case I forgot how many images are in that sequence, so I'll just go back and look. There are a total of 120 images in this sequence. So in that case we want to add 120 for the end, so it'll play the entire animation. And this set in texture file is how Texture Animator works. Is that when it gets to plays the entire texture animation, it holds on the very last one that it was on, and if you want the texture to be a different specific one, you just select it here. In this case we're just going to hold on the last one in the sequence. Okay, and then the very next thing, you can tell the displacement setup is grayed out, but this one uses the diffuse and the opacity map, so we're going to click on Opacity Setup. The dialog appears for the opacity channel. We just do the same process. Click on Browse or Beam Effect. In this case we're going with the opacity. Click on that, the very first image in the sequence, and you can see they match the diffuse channel, which is that they're the opacity ones that only allow the effect to show through. So then we click Open, and if you selected the right file, it should be start at 0, and that, and same with the opacity. If you end texture file, if you want a different one, specific one to end on, click on here, and it should match whatever the diffuse one is. So or else it would probably look weird. If everything looks okay, click accept, and that's it for this one. If you wanted to cancel without saving anything, just press cancel. If everything looks okay, just press accept. You see a new texture animation job has been created. It has a setup name. The setup names can't be edited. They're used internally by Texture Animator. And it has all the information displayed here. The model's root, the path to the diffuse animation directory, the name of the surface that we're animating, the starting frame, the ending frame, the first animation file, and that, maybe I went too far, and also the opacity animation stuff. But I noticed one thing here, I think it's because diffuse first animation file, I think I accidentally clicked on cancel. So on this one I'm going to edit. Yep, that's what it was. You got to be careful if you hit browse and you cancel it out with one already loaded. You got to make sure that you select the one, or else it won't. It might clear out something in the box. That happens occasionally. So diffuse first animation file. There, the file name's correct. How that happened was, while we were, in order to get the file quantity, I clicked on browse and then cancel, and it's set up to as if you were going to cancel the entire setup, so it kind of messed up the name. But if you do that, you go browse and cancel back out. Just make sure you reselect the file that you want, or that was selected there, so it's the first one is set properly. And this way you also get to see how to edit a texture animation. Under menu, right under the create new animation job is edit existing texture animation job. Just select that, and you can make whatever changes that you want that are set up there. So, okay. And now, down below this information box on the animation job is a list of the completed animation jobs. In this case, we created one. It's on the model, transporter effect 2, the surface default, starting frame at 0, ending frame at 120. And now if we play that, we can see that our texture animation is playing on the geometry plane. One thing to show you is the preview window in Daz Studio doesn't update. It displays kind of weird when I have I already pre-created the base opacity setup for this scene, and when that starts animating, the preview window makes it look weird, but when you render the scene out, it looks like it should. And in fact, I should show you. Let me pause the recording here. I'll start rendering this scene, and you can see what it looks like here in the preview window, and I'll show you the rendered version that it looks like it should. Okay, we're back. We're done rendering the scene, and as you can see, let me put it to the side here. You can see that in the preview window, it looks like the characters in front of the animation, which is not. When you render out, it renders it correctly. It's just that the Daz scene's preview window wasn't designed for texture animations, and doing this sort of thing, so it doesn't handle it very well. But it's been tested thoroughly, and each time it renders out perfectly like it should. So just so you know, when you do a base opacity animation, it'll do that. But rest assured, when you render it out, it looks like it should. Okay, we'll continue playing our animation here. And I didn't set up my my time right. Let me see. I want it to end at what timeline are we at here? About frame 132. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the beginning. Just and we're gonna edit this animation job. We're gonna end it at frame 132. So we got to start it. Let me see, I think it's at frame 12. So we'll play it again. And it's a matter of timing to get it to the end of the animation until we get the timing correct. Oop, a little longer yet. What was that? Oop, should have went longer. 137. Okay. Hit menu, edit existing texture animation setup. And let's see, we'll do 140. Let adds, we'll start it at 20. But anytime you're setting up something a little more complicated, like a beaming effect, it's a matter of getting the timing, starting frame and ending frame set right, so they both match. And that looked a lot better. But you can tweak your frame times anytime you like. So like we got the for the base opacity animation, it starts at frame 30, ends at 135. So in our texture animations, we could get starting at frame 20 and ending at 140, and that seems to be pretty good. Play it one more time here, just to make sure. And that ain't too bad, could be a little later. We'll just add 10 frames to it. 30, 150, accept, click on play, preview the next. But like I say, it's just a matter of getting the timing correct. There, that looked a lot better, and that's how it should be. So in this tutorial, we covered how to create a new one by select the model surface, then under menu, create new texture animation job, and then if you want to make changes, go on edit, texture animation job, and do your changes. Okay, the next thing we're going to cover is once you have animation jobs created, you can remove one or remove all of them from the list. So in this case, I'm going to remove the background image. So under menu, go remove texture animation job, and what that'll do is the one selected in the list will be removed. You'll be prompted to confirm that you want to remove it. Select yes or no, and as you see, it removed it from the list. And if you got more than one, you go menu, remove all texture animation jobs, and that just plain old clears them all out. Okay, now texture animation jobs can be loaded back in and saved for later use. So in this case, I already saved those out, so we'll load it back in. Let me first go under menu, oops, load texture animation job file, navigate to the wherever you get it saved out to. You select it, click on open, and it loads a previously saved animation job out. Now if you want to save it, anything, like if you added something to this or made changes and you want to save it, just go menu, save texture animation job to file, and select the file name and the folder that you want to save it to. I always recommend to save it to the same folder or directory that you have your Daz scene file that it's intended for. That way you don't lose it or mix it up with another one. Click on save. If it exists, it'll ask you to prompt if you want to overwrite it. Select yes, and we're good to go. And it's the same saving and loading texture animation jobs is the same as camera switches and base opacity setups. It's the same steps, and the same with removing animation jobs, removing camera switches, and removing base opacity setups. It's exactly the same. So, and I believe we covered everything you ever want to know about texture animation jobs. We did create, new, we did the edit, we did the remove all. Oh, here's a reset texture animation. What that does is if you, let's say you stopped your animation kind of midway, you did some changes or whatever, and something got messed up, you have the ability to reset texture animation. And what that does is it resets it back to the on here, the original diffuse texture that was used to that was originally on the model when you created the animation job. It lists it there as, then that way it can be reset back to what the original was on there. Same with the base up the opacity textures. It does the same thing. And there's also a reset button for the base opacity. Set that back to the original settings. And I believe that is all that there is to know about texture animation jobs. Yep. Okay. I guess we covered all the topics. So I thank you for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed using the plugin. Thank you for watching.